Hello, Leo, and welcome to Eye of the Centaur, your 2024 spring reading from Eric Francis Coppolino. That's me, your friendly neighborhood astrologer here in the Friendly Neighborhood Astrology Studio in the Planet Waves office with a little information about your astrology and how it's developing and what the spring of 2024 is about. Continuing the journey to moving backwards through the signs. I started in Aries and then went backwards from Pisces now, where we are arriving here at the very heart of the zodiac, that being your sign, the sign ruled by the sun, and the sun about to experience a very significant, as in historically significant, total solar eclipse in the sign Aries, the sun sign where the sun is exalted. So this is genuinely a solar event that will have some transformational influence on your life if it is not already having that in the first place. So before we get to this, upside down every time. Before we get to this event in Aries, which takes place in the spiritual angle of your chart, the 9th. So it's a kind of a spiritual teaching event, whatever that means for you. Let's talk about what it means to have Pluto now on your occupying, transiting your 7th house, Aquarius, because that's you, Leo, whether it's sun or rising, and then the opposite place talks about your relationships. And it also talks about the environment of the world you walk around in and all the people that you relate to and all the different reasons that you relate to them, whether it's business or personal or friendly or unfriendly. That's all going on in the 7th. The 7th is, I think, the biggest container for day-to-day experience when you're contemplating the idea of something that involves the other, whether the other is a boyfriend or girlfriend or spouse or partner or business partner of some kind, whether the other is the weird world you're walking around looking at, wondering what the heck it is now. How many days do you have where you're wondering, like, what is this place that I'm in? It's not the place I was in when I was 12. It's not the place I was in when I was 20. What is this place? Well, what this place is a world where all of the social bonds and underlying self-concept, or shall we say, where self-concept and all of the resulting social bonds are under the influence of electricity, and in particular digital, but really this means that the quality of our times, the quality of our past century, seeming to increase with exponential intensity, has taken us from a kind of an individuated state to a collectivist, tribalist, faux communist kind of condition of society being organized in these little electrical cults. And this may be disturbing for you because among the signs of the zodiac, with your thing ruled by the sun, Leo's ruled by the sun, the only sign ruled by the sun, except for Aries, where the sun's exalted. You may be wondering, like, where all the individual people went and why it is every time you turn around, you're dealing with some kind of a corporate entity or some kind of a cult or some kind of a clique or a committee or people who act like they're part of a clique or a committee first, and then maybe there's a little bit that makes them special, like, for example, their very unique tattoo, for example. And you, I think, want to live in a world of individuals and where if there are going to be groups, at least the groups are composed of people who have some sense of who they are. Because of who you are, you have to have a sense of who you are, and you've always had an affinity for encountering and dealing with group dynamics, but never like this, never like we've got going on today. It is just completely ridiculous. And what to me, the main influence of Pluto rising above your western horizon, it took 15 years to make it through your 6th house in Capricorn. I'm very happy you survived that. Not very easy. Into the 7th is that this world you look out at. I mean, think of this angle of the chart here, with you standing here, or maybe here. Maybe you're here, maybe you're here, and generally you're going to look out in this direction, and the world you see when you look out in that direction, do this in yellow. Not very bright, but this general direction is like looking at the world through a visor like this. You walk down the street, it's what you see. You see people, you see entities, business entities, you see activity, traffic. That's all. The approximate point of view of looking out the window of a car, which I imagine would be about 30 degrees of visual sight, when like all that's below it and all above it, well, you'll come up with another 330 degrees. You're looking out through that narrow window. That's the 7th house. That's where Pluto has arrived. Pluto has now shown up very strongly on your radar, but the thing is, the Pluto is generally an invisible force. It works below the level of consciousness. It is difficult to see Pluto in action. You can more infer its movements. You can infer its presence. You can deduce its reality from different clues. Most of those clues come from the changing environment. They come from the changing behavior of people, the expectations that people have, the sense of broad, sweeping attitudes and values changing. And for you, through your observations about social order and organization, and with Pluto going into Aquarius, it shows up there in a time when the fundamental unit of social organization is the cult. The cult. When in doubt, start a cult. Promise people everything. A free ride on a comet, whatever. Just get their money and tell them they're part of a cult. They'll love you for it. I'm sure you don't like this very much. It's fucking ridiculous. And it's leading to all kinds of grifting and behavior that makes Coca-Cola and Monsanto seem like honorable companies, and they're not. So what I am suggesting here is that behind everything you're experiencing, behind everything you're observing, behind everything that happens to you, there is this factor. So it is, when we say, well, what does Pluto and Aquarius represent? Question mark. For you, it represents some invisible but highly active force that is behind everything. And it is changing everything from, let's say, the very deep inner spheres or the very distant remote outer spheres, but nonetheless, everything is changing, and it is changing in the form of this soon to be very obvious rearrangement of society. As I've said a number of places, there are going to be 3 main modes of action of Pluto and Aquarius. Mode number 1 is the